Alright, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. It's the only juniper I have. I got it from Lowe's. It was sold as a Juniper Procumbens. I'm going to find out one day that I've been saying that's supposed to be Procumbens or something like that. But somebody in the last, I only made one video on it when I repotted it in here. I did that in March. And somebody commented and said there's no way that's a Procumbens. Some people do that, and some people do that a lot with, especially my ficus trees. They tell me what it's not, but then they don't really have any ideas what it is. So, you know, if it's not a Procumbens, you know, maybe that person could tell me what they think it might be. But I guess up north, they get wired in the fall, and you know that way they don't, you know, they grow very little in the winter, and the branches can kind of set. I don't really know that this thing needs any wire in that. It's got plenty of branch movement. If you look at the branches, it's got plenty of movement in it. I don't want to make it a cascade, and the only thing I can really see left to do would be to wire it up. But I'm going to start by, I did notice in the hurricane it kind of stayed put. It did get knocked around a little, not too terribly bad. But I noticed it did clean a lot of the foliage out, and it actually, you know, I guess junipers have this scale foliage, which, you know, is soft to the touch. And then it has juvenile foliage, which is like what is coming out right in here. See, I'm going to prune off some of this anyway. I'm going to see if I can show you guys what that looks like. And then it gets the needles on there, which is one of the reasons why I decided that this is just like a type of tree I'm not going to try to mess with for the hobby that much. Because I started having memories, you know, when I even first got this, I started having memories of when I worked landscaping up north. And man, I hate getting that scale, or I'm sorry, not the scale, but the needle foliage in my fingers and everything. Just hate the way it makes me feel. I hate the way it kind of seems like no matter how many times you wash your hands afterwards, it just like the feeling of it never comes off. Here's a nice little example right here where there's quite a bit of it. See if you guys can see that a little bit better. Quite a bit of it kind of just coming up out of the branch right there. And like I said, most of this has actually happened after the hurricane, and I think that's just the tree's reaction to having a lot of the foliage kind of knocked off. I'm going to clean it up. I don't think I'm going to wire it. I think I'm just going to clean it up and take a lot of this juvenile foliage off. And try to clean up some more of the branches that I did not from the last time. Last time I cleaned it up quite a bit. And then also, just getting some of these longer shoots. You never want to come in and prune all of it. But what I want to do is I just want to take some of these and try to kind of almost give it a treatment like I give some of my ficus trees. And then I'm going to try to prune for taper and just hope that it picks a new leader there. I am going to cut this one all the way down to here. Although I have different ideas for that branch. I'll talk a little more about that once I get it cleaned up. You guys will be able to see it a little bit better. Even though I just decided to hang on to this till later, I did want to mention that one branch, which kind of follows along the trunk line there, I've thought about if this was a ficus, I'd think about like chopping off all this and leaving that. But I guess juniper actually stores its energy in the foliage and not in the root ball, so I want to kill it. It's the only branch that actually has some age. The rest of these kind of look like shoots. So I might either cut it off, because I know I cut it off and I said I was going to have some thoughts on it later. I might either cut it off or make a gin out of it. I had decided Since tropicals don't usually have much dead wood, you know, with the exception of like cherry trees, buttonwoods, things like that. But I decided I wasn't going to do much lime sulfuring, and I was using wood hardener. But I guess if you put wood hardener on anything, it doesn't really take the lime sulfur later. But I noticed that the wood hardener actually makes it look like a piece of furniture. So for now, I will just leave that on there. Maybe by springtime, I'll have my mind made up what I want to do. That would be just that one branch right in the middle there. All that juvenile foliage popping up. Yeah, we'll just wait and see what it looks like in the spring. Alright, here we are. It's been nearly a year since I made that first part of the video. Actually, just a couple weeks short. I do believe that's November 22nd of 2022. And here we are. I think it's like November 4th or something like that. Trying to clean out some disk space. Thought I'd get like some kind of a big vision for this tree of what I was going to do with it in the spring. And it just never happened. And then actually I did see the highlights from the video just to try to remind myself what I did. And I mentioned that if it was a ficus, I might cut off everything but this piece right here and just let that become a new tree and let it grow out the wound and get some taper in it. But because it's a juniper, and I guess their energy is actually stored in the foliage and not in the roots, I'm actually going to go ahead and take this little one off instead. I'll go ahead and start there. Think towards the end, I'm leaving that stub on there just with the idea, I don't know if you guys can see that, there we go. I'll leave that stub on there with the idea I might make a little gin out of it. And also I was going to wait until the end of the video just to kind of take a look at what I plan on keeping, what I plan on not keeping. I did want to take and show, see if you guys can see, tree has the scale foliage on the outer parts of it, and then it's been getting a lot of back budding, but it's all been the juvenile foliage that's all needle-like. And so before I even decide what it is I'm going to do with that, I'm going to come through, I'm going to take out a bunch of, I got a couple branches that are just kind of growing in the tree, take out some of the juvenile foliage, things that are crowding itself and whatnot, and then just try and look at it and see whether or not I need to put wire on it, or whether I'm going to leave it like it is. Alright, and I cut the camera off and just kind of studied it for a minute. With that piece now gone, it's not quite what I had thought, but I had always kind of had my eye also on this piece here. I feel like it's kind of obnoxiously long and kind of hiding the trunk a little bit. Hopefully I'm not pushing my luck with taking too much foliage off there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of wire. I'm going to get this piece separated out from this. Now, somewhere in the middle of me babbling on about where I was going to put wire and why, my battery ran out, my camera. Kind of frustrates me to no end. I did go ahead and just finish up. Hope I didn't take off too much foliage since we are heading into fall. I think it's the best time of year for me to do it here. Although, like I said, some people will have you believing you can't even grow these things in Florida. But we shall see. I only really wanted to wire 2 branches, but I did wire the, the accompanying ones to anchor it to. I wanted to get some wire on this one to move it away from the rest of that. And then this one I chopped off. There was a smaller branch coming that way into the tree, and basically I chopped that off and then bent this branch halfway into where it was to separate it from this one. Wanted to try to get a little more wire movement in this one, but then every time I tried, kind of almost bent it right back into that one again. This one I didn't put any wire on, already had a little bit of movement and didn't really have anywhere I needed to move it to or anything. I'm going to go ahead and let that ride. Sometimes I envision this as being a front, maybe with that back side of the tree coming off. Really don't want to keep it all this wide, although there are sometimes I kind of envision this as being the front. And if I go with that as the front, I'd probably keep the whole thing as wide as it is. If one day I ever decide to go with this, I'd probably go ahead and take off the back branch there. We'll just see. Take off a couple of these little branches down there, and then, not an expert at this, not an expert in juniper at all. You really shouldn't follow my instructions. But I am going to, when you make a gin, I guess you peel all the bark off, and then obviously lime sulfur it. I'm going to peel all the bark off. I understand you have to do lime sulfur outside. I actually have a bottle I haven't opened yet. Not even sure how I should dilute it. I have a bottle of dog lime sulfur. But I'm going to go ahead and peel this bark off here and see what she's going to look like. Never done this before. Actually, when I say I've never done this before, I've done this once on a little small portion of actually this tree that has been long gone now. I put some wood hardener on it, and I guess that's a way to preserve it, but also at the same time it'll never soak up any lime sulfur if you try to put any on there. Let's see what happens here. I had kind of an idea that a couple pieces of this was not super healthy. I don't know if you can tell, but there's part of this that looks like it almost has a live vein going down it, and then a little part that might have been already dead, or maybe I'm just mistaking it for not really getting the bark off all the way. And I think that's all I'm going to do for right now. I'm not going to worry about going all the way down to the trunk, just in case I ever do have to chop it there. I figure I'll keep an eye on it over the winter here, and then if it stays in place and starts drying out, I'll go ahead and maybe in the spring try to get some lime sulfur on it, try to whiten it up some. Not very big. And there's a little look at it on the whole tree. It says kind of small, not really a feature you'd see now.